The little girl sat in the courtroom, her small hands gripping her mother's arm, her eyes filled with fear. She had been the victim of something no child should ever face. For many, it was just another case file in a stack of trials. But for a young prosecutor named Kamala Harris, it was the moment that would define the rest of her life. Kamala was new to the job, still at the beginning of her career, still finding her footing in a world where the law could be cold and unforgiving. Yet as she looked at the child, trembling but brave enough to show up, she knew this was not just about legal arguments. This was about giving voice to someone who had none. The accused sat across the room, calm, even confident. He believed the system would protect him, that the voice of a child would be too faint to matter. But Kamala Harris was determined to make sure that voice was heard. When she stood before the jury, she didn't drown them in technical words or lengthy citations. Instead, she painted a picture. She told the story of a little girl robbed of her safety, a family robbed of their peace. She spoke with both compassion and precision, her voice steady, her words sharp enough to cut through doubt. The jury wasn't just hearing a case, they were feeling it. The defense tried to break her down. They called her inexperienced, questioned her judgment, and pressed her to lose her focus. But Kamala didn't flinch. Each time, she met their challenges with clarity, dismantling their claims piece by piece. She was young, yes, but she carried herself like someone who had spent a lifetime preparing for this fight. Day after day, the tension grew heavier in the courtroom. The family of the young girl held their breath, the community waited, and Kamala pressed forward, refusing to let fear silence the truth. And then came the moment of decision. The jury filed back into the room, their faces unreadable. When the word guilty was announced, the air seemed to freeze. Then it broke into tears, into relief, into the sound of a family finally able to believe in justice again. The little girl clung to her mother, and for the first time in a long time, she smiled. Kamala watched quietly, her heart heavy yet full. She hadn't just won a case, she had given that child her dignity back. Walking out of the courthouse that day, Kamala knew her life had changed. She realized her mission wasn't simply about winning trials or building a career. It was about standing up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. It was about being a voice for the voiceless. Years later, when Kamala Harris would stand on stages before millions, she often remembered that first big case. Because before the campaigns, before the headlines, before the history-making moments, there was a young prosecutor who looked into the eyes of a frightened child and made a choice: to fight for justice, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful.